I watched a kid vanish inside a water slide. I wish I never went looking for her. The little girl who disappeared wasn't crying. She just looked, resigned. I was working the top of the Serpent, our main water slide, a job that mostly involves telling kids not to launch themselves down head first. The air was thick with chlorine and the humid echo of 100 splashing children. 4 of them were left in the queue. "Hold on," I said, putting a hand out to stop a kid buzzing with so much energy he was practically vibrating. The light above the slide's gaping mouth was red. I watched the monitor as the previous kid shot out the bottom into the splash pool. Green light. "Okay, feet first, on your back. Go." He went. A high-pitched shriek echoed back up the tube. Next. A boy with a permanent snail trail of snot under his nose stepped up. I gave him the signal, and he immediately threw himself in on his stomach. "Hey, on your back," I yelled, but he was already gone. I leaned over the railing. Down below, he tumbled out into the pool in a clumsy explosion of water. Iona, the new lifeguard, didn't even look up from her perch. She just gave a lazy thumbs up in my direction, then went back to scanning the water, her expression a perfect mask of professional boredom. I watched her for a moment too long, the way she tucked a stray strand of dark hair behind her ear. I turned back to the queue. Only 2 left. The next one was the girl, Anja. Hair so blonde it was almost white and skin to match. She looked like a photograph that had been left out in the sun too long. "Don't do what he did, okay?" I said, trying to sound like I was in charge. "On your back or sitting up. It's for your safety." "That's my job." She didn't look at me. Her eyes, a pale washed-out gray, were fixed on the dark opening of the Serpent. The slide is made of this ugly, opaque, mud-brown plastic. It swallows the light. I've always thought it looks less like a ride and more like a throat. "You ready?" I asked. She didn't fidget or giggle like the other kids. She just gave a single, solemn nod, as if she were about to perform some grim but necessary duty. With a slow, deliberate push, she slid over the edge, and the brown tube consumed her. I waited for the splash. My eyes drifted back down to Iona. She was adjusting the strap on her swimsuit, her skin golden under the harsh fluorescent lights. She was so completely out of my league, it was a joke, but a guy can look, right? It's a small, lonely comfort in a job like this. She must have felt my stare. She looked up, right at me, her brow furrowed. Then her lips curled, just slightly. A flicker of something between annoyance and disgust. My stomach twisted. She mouthed something. "What?" I shook my head, my face burning, and looked away. I glanced at the splash pool. It was empty. The water was still. Had Anja already gotten out? Had I been staring at Iona for that long? I shouted down. Did she come out? Iona just frowned, cupping a hand to her ear. I pointed at the slide's exit, then made a questioning gesture. She shook her head. My blood went cold. I checked the small, grainy monitor that shows the inside of the tube. Nothing. Just an endless rush of water over curved brown plastic. Can I go? The last kid in line, a little boy with a Paw Patrol rash guard, was looking at me expectantly. Yeah, go," I said, my mind racing. I watched him on the monitor, a tiny figure hurtling through the darkness. He shot out the bottom without a problem. He didn't bump into anything. He didn't even seem to notice anything was wrong. I watched him climb out and run toward his parents. Iona was climbing down from her chair. The session was over. I shut everything down from the control panel. The water jets hissed to a stop. I locked the gate to the stairs, did my final sweep, hosing down the deck. With everything done, I killed the main lights, plunging the massive pool hall into a cavernous gloom lit only by the green emergency signs. I was almost at the exit when I heard it. A heavy, wet thump. It came from inside the Serpent. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Hello?" My voice bounced off the tiled walls, sounding small and stupid. The only answer was the rhythmic drip of a leaky pipe somewhere. That was normal. The thump was not. I walked back along the edge of the main pool, the big vinyl cover already pulled over its surface for the night. The air was still and heavy. A thought wormed its way into my head, me, slipping on the wet tiles, cracking my head open, and sliding silently under that cover to drown in the dark. "Is anyone in there?" I called up toward the slide platform. Silence. It had to be her. It just had to be. I saw her go in. I wasn't crazy. I unlocked the gate and took the stairs 2 at a time. Crouching at the entrance to the slide, I peered into the blackness. The air coming out felt still and warm. And I could hear something else now. A faint, rhythmic pulsing. A soft, slow heaving, like the sound of someone breathing through fluid, shallow and weak. A scared little girl, trapped in the dark. My job. I had to go in. I squeezed myself into the tube. The water was off, but the plastic was still slick and smelled faintly of mildew and chemicals. I could barely move my shoulders. My footsteps made hollow, booming sounds as I shuffled forward, one hand braced against the wall. The green light from the entrance vanished as I rounded the first bend. Total darkness. I was blind. My breathing got fast and loud in my ears. The space felt like it was shrinking, pressing in on me. Then I heard it. A voice, clear and musical in the confined space. "Did you come to save me?" A wave of relief washed over me. Yes. Yes, I'm here. Where are you? Why did you come? You're stuck. I'm here to get you out, get you back to your parents. There was a pause. You only came because it's your job? Well, no, I would have come anyway. Lie-ar. The word was a shriek, a blast of sound so venomous and loud the whole tube seemed to vibrate with it. I stumbled back, my hands slapping against the plastic. This wasn't a little girl's voice anymore. But then, just as quickly, it was soft again. Melodic. "I like you." "Huh. Thanks," I stammered. "Do you like me?" "Yes." The lie slipped out before I could stop it. "Then we're friends," the voice said. "Friends give each other gifts. I love gifts." I felt a strange, expectant pressure in the darkness, as if a pair of eyes were boring into me. A gift. My mind raced. My pockets were empty except for my locker key on its cheap metal ring. It was the only thing I had. My hand trembled as I fumbled for it. "Here," I said, holding it out into the blackness on my flat palm. "It's all I have." Fingers, impossibly cold and thin, brushed against mine as they took the key. In the same motion, something small and hard was pressed into my palm. "Thank you," the voice whispered. "A gift, freely given." "What did you give me?" I asked, my own voice a pathetic squeak. I heard the sound of the key being turned over and over. "Oh, that? A little something. Give it to Iona, the one you watch. It's the silver stud she wears in her left ear, a little crescent moon. She thinks she lost it this morning." My blood turned to ice. My fingers closed around the object in my hand. It was an earring. I could feel the sharp point of the post and the smooth, curved shape of the moon. How could it know? How could it possibly know what I was thinking, or that Iona wore an earring like that? "You don't have to breathe so hard," the voice crooned, its source seeming to move closer. "She's disgusted by you anyway." Disgusted? Everyone is. You're just background noise. A piece of scenery. I thought of the look on her face, the curled lip. Was it true? Is that all I was? "What are you?" I whispered. The voice began to sing, a horrible, taunting nursery rhyme. "Kaz wants a girlfriend, la la la. But nobody wants you, la la la. Nobody wants you, wants you. Wants you. Wants you, wants you." "I didn't ask for that," I snapped, my fear turning to anger. "I asked what you are. What do you want to ask for then?" "I'm feeling generous. You could ask for her, or you could keep looking for the little girl you came for, the one who isn't here." The air grew thick and hot. I could feel the plastic of the slide begin to groan around me, a low structural creak that sounded organic. The tube was pressing in on my shoulders, my back. It was constricting, swallowing. The slow, wet breathing I'd heard earlier was back, Only now it was right in front of my face, loud, hungry. So, which is it, friend? A mouth, inches from mine, spoke the words. I could smell its breath, a foul mix of rot and chlorine. The girl, or your heart's desire. It was a test, a trap. And in that moment, smelling that putrid breath, feeling the slide tighten around me like a muscle, I believed it was real. Oh God, I believed. But I couldn't give it what it wanted. I couldn't admit it. I'm just here for the girl, I said, my voice shaking. I was mistaken. I'm going to keep looking for her. The breathing stopped. The pressure around me held for a long, terrible moment. Then the voice sighed. Fine, I'll help you. The presence surged past me in a rush of cold air, a formless weight shoving me aside. It was gone, out the top of the slide. The tube relaxed its grip. The air cooled. Then I heard a loud clank, followed by a roar. Water. I screamed as a tidal wave slammed into me from behind, sweeping my feet out from under me. The back of my head cracked against the plastic. I was tumbling, spinning, sliding helplessly down the Serpent's gut. For a half second, I was flying through the air, and then I plunged into the icy blackness of the main pool. I was under the cover. Disoriented, I thrashed, my waterlogged clothes pulling me down. My lungs burned. Which way was up? I twisted around, my nostrils filling with a chemical sting. My eyes shot open. It was pitch black. Panic clawed at my throat. I pushed off the bottom, my hands hitting the heavy, suffocating vinyl of the pool cover. It pushed me back down. I choked, swallowing a mouthful of water. My vision exploded with flashing spots. My ears were ringing, a high, panicked throb that grew louder with every frantic beat of my heart. I was going to die here. I had to find the side, the edge of the cover. But where was it? I was completely lost. My feet touched the bottom again. Through the murky water, my eyes caught something, a familiar shape on the tiles. A chip, a crack, right where the kids always land when they come out of the slide. I knew this spot. The wall was to my right. I kicked off, a final desperate surge of adrenaline propelling me through the water. My outstretched hands hit something solid, the wall. I clawed my way upward, my fingers finding the small gap between the tile and the vinyl. I broke the surface, gasping, retching, dragging in ragged, painful breaths. I hauled my soaking, shivering body out of the water and onto the deck. I didn't look back, I just ran. I scrambled through the emergency exit, not bothering to lock anything, and burst out into the night air of the empty parking lot. Shaking, I dug into my pocket for my car keys and froze. They were gone. Of course they were. But my hand wasn't empty. My fingers were clamped tight around something small and cold. The earring. I opened my palm and stared at it. The tiny silver crescent moon gleamed under the parking lot lights. A gift. With a strangled cry, I threw it onto the asphalt. I brought my heel down on it, again and again, grinding the twisted metal into the gravel until it was just a mangled fleck of silver. Then I got in my car and drove away, and I haven't stopped looking in my rearview mirror since.